Okay. I got a table, guys. You like my table? It was back there on the floor last week. I just didn't see it. It was laying flat on the floor. So I didn't know I had a table. Now, I don't have to go to the corner. Find my stuff. Okay. I'm missing some folks. Are you awake? Anybody awake and would rather not be awake? What? I'm not talking to me. All right, Jada, you said you cleaned the board.
The other side's not the best, but
It's cleaner.
it was staying mostly.
Yeah, it's all the same.
That board hasn't been used in my Bible on it, or who was how long?
Well, hopefully you'll be able to tell the difference in what I put up there and what's already there.
Hopefully after it's too long.
So last year there were some colors that y'all couldn't see very well. Remember that?
I'm not gonna see some colors, but I don't know what they were.
You see that?
You didn't see it, I thought about the best color.
Best color.
I said probably red or
Better? Okay. Well, I'm gonna get started, and whoever comes in. What happened?
All of them dropped out the first day class.
They shouldn't have dropped out though after the first one. That was easy. That was easy stuff.
They're like, it's too easy, not challenging.
Yeah, not challenging enough. Well, okay, I know that there's at least one family out of town. The Quins? I think the Quins are out of town. But
Jackson's are probably just the.
Jackson's will
I
be
don't
here.
know if the Jackson's are coming. They're saying how she'll be here by herself. But
Okay,
maybe they might be dropping out.
okay. Yeah, nobody told me, I don't know. Not my business. Have you heard the phrase, not my circus, not my monkeys?
I think so.
I don't have to be in charge of that part.
I could be one of our proverbs.
That could be one of your proverbs, not my circus, not my monkeys. Possibly. I'm just gonna start with basic stuff, y'all. We've done this before, but now would be the time to take notes if you're note takers, because you will not remember this. Nouns. What are nouns?
Person, place, thing, idea.
Person, place, thing, idea, right? Okay, so what is do you know the main category, how we divide nouns? I'm just gonna tell you. Common and proper. What is the difference between a common noun and a proper noun?
A common is like dog.
Dog, cat.
Proper
It's like,
Proper is, wait a minute, wait. He said dog and cat, and the first thing you thought of was Miss Shauna.
No. It's just something.
Okay, I'm teasing, I'm kidding. All right, so common is any noun, anything, it's not specific. But then a proper noun is one that has a name, right? Once you give it a name, it's a proper noun, it has to be capitalized. Y'all remember all that? Okay, so singular and plural. What's the difference, singular and plural?
there's
One versus many, or one versus more than one. Singular is one, plural is more than one. Y'all all know this. All right, masculine and feminine. We do not come in. Hello. Masculine nouns versus feminine nouns. In English, this applies only to living things. Hello? Come in. In other languages, some of y'all are taking Spanish, and it's that way in Latin, it's that way in a lot of other languages. There will be not just the noun itself, but also the article adjective in front of it will be either masculine or feminine. Okay, we don't do that in English. The article adjectives are not masculine, feminine, they're definite or indefinite. But that's that way in other languages too. But in English, if you're talking about a masculine or a feminine noun, it is a living thing. Okay. So give me an example of a masculine noun. Somebody give me a masculine. It's a living thing that is masculine. Daniel. Daniel is a proper masculine noun. There you go. Okay, something that's not proper. A common noun, masculine or feminine. Say again. Think of a living thing that is either male or female. Well, it could be, but how would you say a boy dog? Is there a tomcat, maybe? Tomcat?
You're talking about like
Rooster. A rooster is definitely a male chicken.
Serving.
Think of royalty. You have a king, okay, versus the queen, which is obviously a feminine noun. It's not a proper noun because you're not giving those nouns a name. All right, but that's divided. For living things, you have some things that are masculine, obviously. Then you have some things that are feminine, obviously. Okay. Masculine, feminine nouns. Let's see. Okay, a common noun is something that you don't know because it could be either or. Like if I said children, it could be both. You know, there could be boys and girls in there. If I said geese, you know, it could be both. It's not either or. It's common, right? Because there could be masculine and feminine within that group. Does that make sense? Okay. Another category is neuter, which means there is no gender to it. If I'm talking about this board, it's not a boy or girl. It's not a living thing. It's neuter. There's no masculine or feminine to this. That y'all understand that? Makes sense? Okay. Another category is abstract and concrete. Okay. Hello, come in. Abstract. What is an abstract? What is abstract? What does that mean?
Something you can't touch.
Say again?
Something you can't touch.
Something you can't touch. Is there something that you maybe could see but you can't touch?
Anger.
What?
Anger.
I can't understand you.
Anger.
Anger. Right. You actually can't see that either. It's not, you're on the right track. You're on the right track. Abstract is something that you cannot identify with your senses. Okay. So anger is it's a thought. It's something that you can understand with your brain, but you're not going to see it, you're not going to hear it. You can see the effects of it, for sure. But what's something else that is an abstract? Yeah. Wind. You cannot see wind. But you can feel it on your skin. But you can feel it too. That's one to think about. That's one to think about. Love. Not with your senses. Not with your physical senses. Oh, I know. But that's we can get into more of that. But love is an abstract because it's not something that you can put your hand on. Time. Time is tricky, man. Time is tricky. Danger. You can get goosebumps. Your hair will stand up on the back of your neck, but it's not something that you can see. It's not something that you can hear. It's not, you can't identify it with your five senses. So it's an abstract. You sense danger. Is danger your middle name?
No, you essentially said you can't sense danger.
You can't sense it with your five senses, with your five physical senses. Got it? Okay. abstract versus concrete. A concrete noun is anything that is physical. You can sense it. You can sense it. So I can knock on this table because it's a concrete noun. I know it's there. I can see it. I can touch it. Make sense? Okay. Unless y'all want to continue with that, I'm done with that. Excited. Thank you. Okay, next. Well, I started to write on the board and I didn't do very much of that. That's okay. Any word that can be used as a noun is called a substantive. Right? I'm not going to use that word a lot, but you may see it later. So you just need to know that if you see the word substantive, it just means that something is being used as a noun. It's a noun, right? And nouns and pronouns they will either fall into the category of nominative or objective. Nominative just means it's the subject, okay? And if you look at the first nominative, if you look at the first part of that, nom, it has to do with the name, okay? So you're naming something, it's the subject it's the subject that you're talking about. So your nouns or pronouns can fall into the nominative category or objective. So object of the preposition, direct object, indirect object. So if you know that your pronouns or your nouns are going to fall into one of these categories, as we go into sentence building later, I'll say you can't use this here because this is an object and you're using it as a subject. And you have to know the difference between objective and subjective pronouns. And we will talk more about that later. Also, a noun can be used in the possessive form, but then we're using it as, if it's possessive, we're using it as what? A possessive noun is, if it's in a sentence, if I say, Abby's, I'm sorry, I misspelled your name here. Abby's pen, I don't know, I'm just in a hurry writing. I don't like writing on the board, y'all. I don't like writing on the board. So if I say Abby's pen, this is a possessive noun. How is it being used here? An adjective, right? Because whose pen is it? Abby's. Thank you. It's Abby's pen. So there, in that instance, the noun is being used as a possessive. In the possessive case, it's an adjective. Okay, y'all get it? We've done this before, right? Okay. Now that I've taken up my board with all this, look at that. It doesn't erase. We tried. Yeah. We're going to have to do something about board. All right. First person, second person, third person. What does that mean? What is first person? I. So, first of all nouns are going to be third person. Unless, there are a few exceptions. If I say, I, Shauna, do declare. Okay, let me just write it. So if I say, I, Shauna, and then I go on with my sentence, this is first person, obviously, and then this becomes first person. But normally a noun is going to be third person. Just keep it in your head. We'll get to it. I know you're looking at me like I have three eyes. Oh, so it's not me, it's your context. Okay, got it. First person. First person is I, me, we. It's me talking about myself to somebody else, right? Second person is you talking about yourself, right? Y'all remember this? Third person, I'm talking to Colin. I'm talking to Colin about somebody else entirely. So there are actually three people involved in this. It's third person. First person talking to second person about another person. That's third person. Cool. Got it? Right. Third person is gossip. Thank you. Thank you, legal. All right. I'm just covering all this very basic stuff. Y'all have all heard this before. What is an understood pronoun? Come on, guys. You
It's a
don't.
pronoun that is understood.
It's a pronoun that is understood. What does that mean? Well, come on.
I understand.
It's one that you understand. There is one pronoun that is not included in a lot of sentences because it's just understood that it's there.
You.
You. Yes. So if I say, keep your feet on the floor. Just kidding. You don't have to put your feet on the floor right now. You can toss them. Good. Who am I talking to? You. Right? And a command is always directed at you. Even if I say, Mary Corinne, and I tell her to do something, it's always still, Mary Corinne, you throw your trash away. Whatever I'm telling you, even if I say the name, the you is always there. Does that make sense? A command form is always, it always means you. You are the one that's directed to. Any questions about that? No. Good. Okay, get out you all have paper, you all have pencils. This is not something that you're going to turn into me. I don't need it, but you need to make a note here because you might need this later. We did this last year. So,
I thought I left my notes.
I don't need to see it. I don't need to see it, but this is for you. Think back on your, I don't know, maybe on your summer, on your year, whatever it is. Highs, think of the highs, the good things. The lows, things that were kind of stinky. And then turning points. Something that was a high, something that was a low. And turning points. Just take a few minutes. This doesn't have to be long. I don't need it. Doesn't matter to me what you write. You're gonna be the one who looks at this, not me. Highs, lows, turning points. Things that were really great, things that were not great at all, and then a moment, a day, a week, things changed. For the better, for the worse. You good? Okay. All right. Y'all hang on to that. Keep it folded up, whatever. All right, we're going to move into meter. We're going to talk about poetic feet. Okay, so first, all language has a rhythm to it. All language has rise and fall in the words. It's just natural. You couldn't speak your language without having some kind of rhythm and movement to your language. It would be like, y'all ever listen to something on Kindle, like, and you let it read to you? It's just sort of this flat, it's a robotic sound because it's a computer reading to you, and there's really no rise and fall to the intonation. Y'all ever heard that? Yeah? I'm not getting a lot of response from y'all this morning. Yes, thank you. Okay, so language doesn't normally work like that. It is there's naturally a flow, there's an up and down, and your voice is going to move. And if you step into another language, the intonation will be different. Okay, so there are some languages that are just tonal. Like if you say a certain word, a certain pattern of syllables in one tone, it means one thing. But then if you change your tone, you've just said something completely different. Okay, so I think I've told you this before. A long time ago, I read this missionary biography, and the man, I think he was in South America, and I can't remember where he was, but he was asking, he might have been in New Guinea. Anyway, he was asking for a hammer. He kept asking the local guy for a hammer, and they kept bringing him a banana. Did you read that? Do you remember where it was? Never mind, this is just my curiosity. It doesn't matter where he was. He was asking for a hammer, and the little boy, wasn't it? The little boy kept bringing him a banana, and he was like, why? Why would I need a banana? I need a hammer. And then he realized later it was because he had a cold. He was sick, and so his tone was different. He couldn't say it the right way because he'd been sick. And so the little boy kept bringing him something different, even though he was saying the same sounds. He was saying the same words. So every language is a little bit different, but every language has its own rhythms and tones and patterns, and it's musical. And you can't get away from that without, making it a Kindle reading. It's right. So these are the patterns that we're going to talk about right now. Right? These are the kinds of poetic feet that I want to hit. An iambic foot is 2 syllables. Right? 2 syllables. The first one is not accented. So it's going to do this. Not accented, accented. So you're going to hear ba-bum, 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 ba-bum. What are some words? Say, forget. Forget. If we said it the wrong way, if we flipped it and accented the first syllable, it'd be forget. And you're laughing because we just don't say it that way. It's turning the rhythm of our language backwards, and it's weird. So, say, what's another word? What's another word where the first syllable is, say again? That is, I'm going to get to that one. Hold that one in your head, because we're getting to the next pattern in just a minute. So, what we, contain. Contain. Uphold. What's a name that falls into this? Duh. I can't think of a name right now.
Katie.
Huh?
Katie.
If you're talking about just the initials?
Kate. The name Katie. K-A-T-Y.
I think the stress would be on the first syllable. Because if you're going to do an iambic pattern and you're using Katie, you would have to say Katie. Katie? Now if you said KB, you have a friend. I'm sorry, I'm going all volleyball. KB. Maybe that would work. KB. Right? Oh. Come on now. Come on, don't do that. All right, so behind, before, beside, between, all of those have an unstressed syllable followed by a stressed syllable. You hear it? Maybe? No? All right. I think you hear it. I think you're just not responding very much. Trochaic, also 2 syllables. But this time, you're going to have the stress first and then the unstressed. What did you say a minute ago, Sarah Catherine? Apple. Apple. Right? First syllable stressed, second syllable not stressed. Right? Oh, I forgot. I was going to give you a sentence. I'm going to go back to Iambic just for a minute. Right? So what you're looking for is ba-bum, 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 ba-bum. All right? So, let's see. Iambic. I'm going to give you a sentence here, Iambic. I won't forget to turn it in today. Do you hear it? Ba-bum, 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 ba-bum. So I'm going to have you guys looking for patterns in poems. Right? I'm going to have you looking for the kind of poetic feet. All right. So now that I've put this on the board, this is 1 foot. It's 1 iambic foot. How many feet are in this sentence? 5. Okay. I won't forget to turn it in today. See it? I won't forget to turn it in today. It's a sentence written in iambic. Hexameter. Hex means what? 5. Right? So this is 1 foot. But if you have this sentence has 5, but what if I had 4? Oh, sorry, I gave you the wrong one. That would be 6. 5 is pentameter. Somebody knew that and didn't say it. Somebody knew it. What? Look, I'm going to get a lot of stuff wrong. Just tell me. Just tell me when I get it wrong, because I'm so caught up in what I'm doing that sometimes I just run right over something that I know. Something that I know. Okay, so pentameter, 5 feet. If you have 4, tetrameter. Right? Yeah. Yeah. 4. You're looking at me funny, but I got that one. Yes, I'm positive I got that one. Because 3 is trimeter. Trimeter. Tri is 3. I know that one. I know it. I know that one. All right. So hexameter would be what? 6. 6. And there, I don't think I'm going to give you any there like that, right? And it keeps going up. It will go to, I think, septameter and octameter. I'm not going to give you all of those right now. I want you to know tetrameter. I want you to know pentameter, hexameter. Anyway, what you're looking for is you're looking for the kind of poetic foot, and then you're looking for how many feet are in the sentence, right? And sometimes the poet will mix it up. Sometimes the poet will mix it up some. So I'm going to take this off the board for right now. And now I'm going back to trochaic. Trochaic. This is the first syllable is stressed, second syllable is not stressed. So what are some other words? Answer.
Harness.
Say again?
Harness.
Harness. Harness. What else? Patient. Patient. Is that how you divide that? Patient. It is now. I don't remember how to divide this. Patient. Yes? Okay. I'm gonna say
with confidence and we'll all believe.
See, I don't want to do something with confidence that's wrong. I'm happy to ask you, do you know this?
All believed hexameter.
You, no, they didn't believe hexameter, and they just went along with it.
We're all
You are not. Don't say that. You were just not willing to correct me. Stop it. All right, so I need a sentence now with trochaic. Bum, ba, bum, ba, bum, ba, bum, ba, bum. I've got one. All right. Apple, answer, harness, patient. Period. There you go. That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. All right, so let's say trochaic. All right, I'm gonna give you one. Don't just stand there. Bring the Band-Aids over. Can you hear it? Bum, 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 bum. It's a different, huh? You don't like that? Well, give me something different. I was trying to find the words that would. You got something different? All right. Don't just stand there. Bring the. You don't like Band-Aids? Bring the lemons over. Whatever. Okay, you see how is it, and even saying the sentence, it has a different feel to it. It's not bum, 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 it's bum, 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 bum. There's urgency to it. You feel it? The way you change the pattern, the way you change the sound makes a difference in the feeling that it's giving, right? Got it? Make sense? Yes. Nod your heads or shake them. All right. Anapestic. And I promise we're going to move away from this in a few minutes because your eyes are glazing over a little bit. Anapestic.
She said Anapestic and Sarah went over like.
Like your name is Anapestic. All right. Anapestic. 3 syllables. 3 syllables. All right. So you have unstressed, unstressed, stressed. This is the least common pattern in the English language. This one is the least common, but it might be the most musical. So if you have bum, 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 does it remind you of anything? It's a waltz. It's a waltz. It's the same. If any of y'all play the piano or play basically anything where you could play a waltz, that's the pattern. Soft, soft, stress. Bum, 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 bum. And that's really that was the hardest for me to find words for because it's just not as common. So if I say unprepared, not unprepared, unprepared. The stress is on the last syllable, so it's unprepared, unprepared. Contradict. Unstressed, unstressed, stressed. Contradict. Can y'all think of any other words? Unstressed, unstressed, stressed. Nobody? Overcome. Overcome. You hear it? Overcome. All right, let me give you a sentence for that one. All right, this one is anapestic. I must eat all the cake by myself. Is that one better? Better than the last one? I must eat all the cake by myself. You feel it? Bum, bum, bum. That's the best one. Bum, 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 bum. Got it? Okay. So, there it is. I'm going to do this. I must eat all the cake by myself. Anapestic sentence. How many, I didn't ask you this here, how many feet, how many anapestic feet are in the sentence? 3. It's trimeter. I must eat all the cake by myself. Maybe not. Depends on how big a cake it is. Okay. Dactylic. Last one. Also 3 syllables. Also 3 syllables. This one, you have the stressed syllable first and then unstressed, unstressed. Okay? So let me give you buttermilk. Buttermilk. 4 syllables. Watermelon. Watermelon is 4 syllables. Buttermilk. First syllable is stressed. Okay, here's one. Poetry. Poetry. What? Poetry. 3 syllables. Poetry. Basketball. Elephant. I don't have room for all these. Casual. Casual. All right, 3 syllables. First one is stressed. The next 2 are not stressed. Got that? All right, the last sentence that I chose. Dactylic. Butterfly in the sky. You know it? I can go. Nobody knows it?
No, reading rainbow.
Twice as high. Take a look. It's in a book. Right? Reading Rainbow. Don't know this? No? You were with Hannah Montana? Is that what you said? Tell me, I don't know what you're talking about.
So how I got him like, oh yeah,
I don't know that one. I'm sorry.
from the movie.
From the movie Hannah Montana?
She was actually good.
Sorry, I don't know that one.
Like a bunch of reading rainbow DVDs that we watched.
Well, I watched Reading Rainbow. So you guys were watching.
My bad.
It is that old.
Like it's from the 80s.
It is from, I mean,
2000s.
it's from the dark days. No, 80s, easily. Maybe late 70s, probably 80s, probably early 80s. Reading Rainbow. I remember watching that when I was really little. Butterfly in the sky. I can go twice as high. So there you go. Butterfly in the sky. I can go twice as high. How many poetic feet are there? See it?
This.
4. 4. So what kind of, what? 4. Tetrameter. Dactylic, tetrameter. Got it? Okay. So sometimes I'm going to ask you to look for the meter of a poem. And what you need to do is go through the poem, read the thing, because overall you're going to see a pattern. Sometimes poets will break it up a little bit, like they might have mostly iambic feet in a line, but then they may throw in, they may flip it in one word and have a trochaic foot. Does that make sense? But overall, what I want you to do is look for the pattern. What kind of foot is it? What kind of poetic foot? And how many are in the line? Okay, so now I'm going to move to something different. You all glad? Yay! So this year, I'm going to talk about different time periods of American poetry. And I'm going to talk about the time period a little bit, and then I'm going to ask you to look for the influences of that time in the poetry that you read. Okay? So we're going to start with sort of the beginning of America. We're going to start with the colonial time period, which is going to be from right at the beginning of the 1600s, and it's going to stretch about halfway through the 1700s. Okay? And we're not going to, I cannot cover it. This is a once-a-week class. I cannot cover all colonial poets. I can't even cover very many. Take that past it. There was another one that I wanted to go over in class, but I just couldn't find it. I've heard it, but I couldn't find it. So there's going to be I'm going to ask you to, on your homework, your assignment sheet, thanks, man. I have 2 poems assigned to you, but you need to look them up. They're available online. So, unless I tell you I'm going to send this to you, which I'll do that mostly later on, but for poetry, I'm going to ask you to look a lot of things up because there's a lot available online. But this is Anne Bradstreet, okay? And she was really one of very few women poets recognized this early on. This is mid-1600s, okay? And I can't even remember exactly when they came, she and her family came from England. But anyway, she wrote a lot of really personal stuff that she never intended to be published. And some of her friends and family sort of went around her and published her stuff without her knowledge, which is good for us because we get to see some really, really good stuff. She just didn't know it was happening. Anyway, during this colonial time period, there is a heavy, heavy influence of Christianity. It just saturates the culture, all right? So even if there were men and women who were not personally believers, and there were, I mean, everywhere, every place, every age has people who may be surrounded by Christianity and are not believers themselves. Even when you have those people during this time period, even if they're not personally believers, they have been so influenced by the Christianity around them that they would believe, even if they had no love for God, they would believe that He was in charge of all things, right? So during this time period, these folks were so heavily influenced by the things that they believed. It came out everywhere. It came out in their government. It came out in their poetry. It came out in their family lives. It came out in their work. And one of the things that you're going to see a lot in this time period is that they believe that everything that came to them, good, bad, all in between, came directly from the hand of God. That He was in charge of all things, and that everything that came to them came from Him. So, let's see. All right, so let's do some of this, because I want to show you what I want from you this week. All right. Anybody want to volunteer to read some of these stanzas? I don't want to read the whole thing. You start, Daniel. Read the first 2 stanzas.
In silent night when rest I took, for sorrow near I did not look. I wakened was with thundering noise, and piteous shrieks of dreadful voice. That fearful sound of fire and fire, let no man know is my desire. I, starting up, the light did spy, and to my God my heart did cry.
Okay. Are y'all seeing the rhymes here? What's the pattern? A-A-B-B. So the first 2 lines rhyme, and then the next 2 lines rhyme. I don't know how she had this broken up. I broke it up into stanzas. I broke it up so that it'd be easier to read. Okay. And where the place that I got it from didn't have it broken up that way. That's okay. But did you read the first part of this? What is she talking about? What? Her house burned down. Her house burned down. Okay. Who's going to take the next two stanzas? Sarah Catherine. Read it loud.
Restraining me in my distress, and not to leave me sufferings. And covering out the hellish space, the flame consumed my dwelling place. And when I could no longer look, I blessed his name that gave and took. Then laid my gifts now in the dust. Yes, so it was, and so 'twas just.
Whoa. Whoa. Her house has burned down. Okay, go back to where the start of that third stanza. To straighten me in my distress and not to leave me succorless. You know what succor means? S-U-C-C-O-U-R. Succor. It just means help. So, not to leave me helpless, right? Not to leave me without any kind of aid, right? The last stanza that Sarah Catherine read, and when I could no longer look, I blessed his name that gave and took. That laid my goods now in the dust. Yea, so it was, and so 'twas just. She's looking at everything she has that's gone, and she's saying, bless the Lord. He gave it to me, and now he's taken it, and this was good. Can you imagine? Everything you have is gone, and you say, thank you, Lord. You did what was right. This was very good. This was just. Wow. Okay. So, I'm not going to go any further than that right now. I think you all should read this. I think you should take it home and read it. But what I'm going to ask you to look for in your stuff this week, first of all, let's just talk about the meter of this. In silent night, when rest I took. What kind of meter is that? In silent night, when rest I took. Okay. Yeah, it's iambic. How many poetic feet are there? 4. Yeah, so it's iambic tetrameter. Right. Iambic feet, there are 4 of them, tetrameter. See that? Okay. And we've already talked about the rhyme pattern. She's using A, A, B, B. Right? So she's just rhyming couplets all the way through. Yeah, she's just rhyming couplets all the way through. So you'll have 2 lines at a time, and the ending is going to rhyme. Okay, what else? What else was I going to ask you for? All right, so looking back at this, just in those 4 stanzas, what do you see in her writing that tells you what she might believe about God, what she believes about the world? What do you see in those stanzas?
God controls everything, and whatever he does is good, so no matter what happens to you, you should give him praise. Okay.
All right, you're right. You're right. So everything that comes to you is from the hand of God. Looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The 8 line 8, 9, 10. And to my God my heart did cry, to straighten me in my distress, and not to leave me succorless. So even though she believes that this burned house came to her from God, what does she believe that God will do? Not leave her helpless. He's not going to leave her helpless. So even though she believes that this very hard thing came to her from God, she also believes that God is a loving God. Right? She believes that God is not going to leave her helpless because he cares about her. Even though he brought this very hard thing to her, she said, it's good, it's right, God gave it to me, bless his name. Right? I'm going to tell you, this time period, it's going to be very easy for you to read the lines and figure out what this person believes about God, because it's just crowded with Christianity. This time period was just overwhelmed with Christianity, which was a very good thing. All right. Later movements, it might be a little bit harder for you to just look at it and go, oh, I can tell what this person thinks about the world. I can tell what this person thinks about Christianity just from these lines right here. But that's the kind of thing that I'm going to ask you to do, right? I'm going to ask you to read the poetry, and then if you can, tell me what you think this person believes about God, what they believe about the world based on their writing. Okay? Almost done. I know you got to get to your next class. These are the kinds of poems that I want you to write. One poem has to be 25 words. It's a short poem, but it might be a little bit harder than you think. And you can write about whatever you want. I'm giving you some examples here. Okay. So before I come into this class and teach, I spend the summer trying to figure out what I want you to do. And so I try to write ahead of you to give you the examples of how you can do this. I don't really care what you write about this time. I don't care. So mine, the 25-word poem, is just about a tree. All right? That's what I chose. Thank you. And you can write about whatever you want. The only rule is it needs to be 25 words. And if you look at the last line there, I kind of fudged it a little bit, and I made earthbound a hyphenated word. It's one word. It's hyphenated. Okay. The next one that I want you to do is called a flip side poem. Take something that, it can be something you experience or just something that you know of, something that is not good, find something good in it. Okay? And yours doesn't have to be as long as mine. I'm going to give you an assignment sheet. And you don't have to explain it. Yep.
I have a question.
Yes.
For the 25-word poem, is it just any poem that has to be 25 words exactly?
It has to be 25 words.
Yeah.
Has to be 25 words. Let's see. Oh, one of my favorite things about poetry is that you don't have to explain it. You don't have to tell me what it's about. Sometimes I'm going to tell you. Oh, bless you. That was good. Very quiet. Very quiet sneeze. Sometimes I'm going to explain to you, and sometimes I'm not. So this particular flip side poem, I told you before that my sister got married this summer, and you got enough. You got all you need. Okay. There were some very hard things about that, but out of that, there were really some very good things too. Okay. Your poem doesn't have to be as long as mine. Shoot for, what did I say? 8 lines. If you want to go longer than that, that's fine. I will not count off points for extra lines. Okay? Any questions? Go in peace. Go in peace. Have a good day. Make it to your next class.